Good afternoon. My name is Sheena McGackran. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Richland Hills Police Department. Joining us today, starting at my right, is Police Chaplain Frank Delio, Lieutenant Ronnie Miller, Chief of Police Kimberly Sylvester, and to my left is Sergeant Christian Gaitan, and the investigative team working this case, Sergeant Daniel Sawyer and Detective Jim Sears. Today, I would like to provide you with an update on the recent capital murder case our agency is working. I ask that you hold all questions to the end, and we will do our best to answer them as time allows. As many of you know, and those that don't, on Sunday, January 1st, 2023, at 7:50 a.m., the Richland Hills Police and Fire Departments were dispatched to a reported stabbing of a child at a residence in the 3500 block of Labadee Drive in Richland Hills, Texas. This was reported from a 911 call that came from a parent of the child inside the residence. Neighboring police and fire agencies also responded to assist. Upon entry into the residence, officers located a deceased child victim in a bedroom with injuries consistent with that caused by a sharp-edged weapon. A weapon of this type was recovered near the victim. The victim has been identified as 8-year-old Brenham McDonald. The suspect has been identified as 62-year-old Philip Hughes, a grandfather to Brenham. The suspect was located by a responding officer approximately a block away from the residence and taken into police custody without incident. The suspect was transported to the Joint Detention Center at North Richland Hills Police Department and charged with capital murder. He has since been transferred to the Tarrant County Correction Center and held on a $2 million bond. The Tarrant County Medical Examiner's Office completed an autopsy and released the initial case findings, stating the cause of death as sharp force injuries to the neck and chest. In the manner of death is homicide. There have been a lot of questions surrounding this incident as the community tries to process how this horrific incident occurred. Some of the questions are why this happened and whether or not there have been any previous police calls to this residence. It is difficult to understand how this heinous crime could happen, and these details are being gathered by the investigators. We can say that the investigation thus far has revealed only one suspect, and that suspect remains in custody. Prior to this incident, Richland Hills Police had no arrests involving the suspect and no incidents involving any violence. The last official contact that Richland Hills Police had with the suspect was in 2021 when the complainant, where he was a complainant in animal and parking complaints. Even though we're providing this update, again, this is still an active investigation. We are still working and collecting information and investigating the circumstances surrounding the incident. We do not want to release any information that might jeopardize the integrity of this case. We still urge anyone with information regarding this incident to contact the Richland Hills Police Department detectives, and that can be done at cid@richlandhills.com. At this time, I would now like to introduce Chief of Police Kimberly Sylvester.
Good afternoon. As Officer McGackran stated, I am Kim Sylvester, Chief of Police for the Richland Hills Police Department. It is with heavy heart that we have to meet today to discuss this horrific crime that occurred on New Year's Day. On behalf of the entire Richland Hills Police Department, we offer our deepest condolences to Brenham's family. We made this photo today to stand up here with us of Brenham as we discuss this tragedy. Words cannot begin to express our frustration and sadness that we are all feeling as a result of this case. Nor can any words spoken heal the pain that comes with the loss of a child. Brenham had his whole life ahead of him. He was a smart and talented young boy who loved to sketch and draw. Yesterday, I met with Brenham's parents and some of his extended family to not only express our deepest regret for their loss, but also ensuring them that all support resources will be here for them during this time. We realize that this case has affected not only the family, friends, and loved ones of Brenham, but also our entire community and beyond. This has also been a tough, emotional investigation for our officers and staff that were first on scene and those handling this investigation. As police officers, responding to cases like these can take an emotional toll on our responding officers. As a first responder, you pray that you never have to respond to a call like this. But when the call does come, officers do their job and take care of business at hand. There is true evil in this world, and our community has experienced this with Brenham's death. Our role as the police department is to conduct a thorough and complete investigation and ensure that all the facts are uncovered and presented in this case to bring justice for Brenham. Based on the facts of this investigation and the evidence collected, we have the suspect in custody responsible for Brenham's death. We will do everything in our power and authority to work with the district attorney to hold this suspect accountable for his actions. The investigative team standing with me today anticipates turning this case over to the Tarrant County District Attorney's Office by the end of this week. We have been in contact with Birdville ISD, the school district where Brenham attended school, which has also been impacted by this tragedy. School officials have been working diligently with their team of professionals to provide support to students and the faculty. I am extremely proud of the hard work by the men and women of this department working on this case. Police officers are humans. Many even have children that are Brenham's age. So our hearts break and mourn for Brenham's loss as others do. I want to thank the North Richland Hills Police Department for their assistance in providing us with additional resources to handle a case of this magnitude. Additionally, I would like to thank Alliance for Children for immediately reaching out and offering their services for the family and others affected by this crime. I would like to close by thanking our community for your outpouring of support during this time and ask that you continue to keep everyone involved in your prayers. Thank you.
Okay, we now have some time for just a few questions, if there are any.
Chief, can you all discuss of what the suspect said to you all when he was taken into custody or anything of that nature at this time?
So because this is still an active investigation, there are details that we cannot discuss, but throughout this investigation, it's revealed there's only one suspect, and that suspect remains in custody.
Chief, can you take us back to the moment you learned this involved an 8-year-old and how this hit you personally?
Yes, as I stated earlier, when I was notified of this tragic incident, as police officers and as much as we experience through our profession in this career, it is never easy to hear that a child's life has been lost in such a tragic way.
Chief, or if one of you could comment on, when we had spoken with the great-grandmother on the day of the incident, she commented about the fact that the family was staying in the suspect's home temporarily. Can you talk a little bit about how long they had all been living together? Was this a new situation?
The parents in Brenham were residing in the home with the grandfather. And I believe as one of the other interviews that was conducted, the grandmother had stated it had been in the last 2 years, and that is confirmed information.
Any tension between the two, groups, either the grandfather and the parents, that day or any time beforehand?
Again, this being an active investigation, those are details that we can't discuss at this time.
So at this time, it's safe to say that you guys are working to pile together the motive in this case, and what does the Tarrant County DA expect to get by the end of the week, and is his affidavit going to be made available to the public?
The case will be filed with the district attorney's office by the end of the week. Because of the magnitude of this case, obviously there's much work to be done, more interviews to be conducted, but the bulk of the case will be provided for them of the work that we have gathered at this time.
Who alerted police that something was wrong at the house? Was this a 911 call, welfare check? Can you walk us through that?
It was a 911 call. from one of the parents inside the residence who had discovered the child.
Can you comment, and I'm so sorry if you already stated it, in regards to, was the grandfather home alone with the child at the time? Was he watching them when the parents were out or something like that?
He was not at home alone with the grandfather.
And what led you guys to the school and the location of Mr. Hughes?
When the initial officers responded to the call, as it says in the press release, that we responded to a stabbing call from a 911 call that came from the residence. The officer that you see in the ring videos that was driving down was actually one of the later officers coming to the scene to assist in the search of the suspect. And he happened to be driving down that road on the way to that area when he was flagged down by the suspect.
You said you guys have recovered a murder weapon in this case. Can you describe that weapon, and is it anything that was able to be tied to Mr. Hughes that kind of led you to him in the first place?
I can confirm what Officer McEachern has said, is as it was described by the medical examiner's office as a sharp-edged object, and we did discover a object matching that description in the residence near the victim.
Did it belong to Mr. Hughes?
Again, those are details we can't discuss at this time.
And Chief, are you able to say whether the parents heard a commotion and went to check on the boy, or did they discover him the next morning when they went to wake him up in the morning?
Again, at this time, those are details we can't discuss.
There are neighbors who shared some things about Vernon, saying that he was living with autism and also was diabetic. Are you guys able to confirm that at all?
Those are details we can't discuss under the medical conditions of the child. Those are protected under the law.
Chief, can you kind of discuss, just if you can, discuss to us, what led you guys to the grandfather in the first place?
I believe it was the initial information provided from the 911 caller.
And CPS history at this home, had they just been living so short time, there's nothing involved, and the only calls that you guys have had have not included violence with the suspect?
That is correct.
What about his history? Have you guys been told anything about his medical conditions? Some neighbors told us that he was an Army veteran and might have a rough past. Can you describe or talk about that at all? That's just something that we've heard. Can you speak to it?
I will go back to the question and answer that Officer McEachern has already provided in the history of the dealings that we have had with the suspect. There has been no violent interaction or instance of where we responded with him.
Chief, in regards to just the toll that this is taking on you all and the investigation, y'all have counselors or anything like that helping as you all navigate, such a terrible situation?
Absolutely. We have programs in place for our staff here to deal with these types of situations, and I will say we have had, again, an outpouring of support for the family and for our team as well in offering those types of assistance for our staff.
Obviously, there was some conversation about, this press conference with the family, and, blowing up the photo.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about that? And Chief, when you look at this photo of Brennan, what's going through your mind?
Yes, as I stated when I spoke a few minutes ago, I met with Brennan's parents yesterday and some extended family for quite a long period of time, and obviously received permission from the family to have his picture displayed today, and was given the photo by Brennan's mom. A lot of what we discussed yesterday was just about Brennan and about what a wonderful young man he was and how he loved to draw and sketch, and had been given a lot of sketching books for Christmas, and how actually gifted and talented and very smart that he is. And those same sentiments were shared with me from the school district as well.
We'll take just 2 more questions. If anyone's got any more questions.
You might have mentioned this, but you know how long the family had been living at this residence?
We don't have the exact details of how long they were living there, but Brennan was a resident of this home, and so was the grandfather and his parents. Okay, so we're going to conclude. Just want to thank you all for coming and thank you for being here this afternoon and for covering this story. Thank you to the media for covering this story, with being sensitive to the family and our officers.
Thank you all.